Good afternoon and welcome everyone to another Tap Talk Live. This is number 51 and we are here live today with Magnus Jern from TAPP Water in Barcelona, who is on the road and live, I see.
Thank you very much. Great to be on the show and great to speak to you.
Great. So if you're on live, and I see a few people on live, then you can add comments and questions in the comments box on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And if you're watching the recording, you can do the same thing, and I'll pass on the questions to Magnus, and then we can supply you with answers. So let's start with thank you for coming to talk to Malta customers of TAPP Water today. What brought the three founders of TAPP Water together originally?
It was really we were three people from different countries and from different backgrounds, including myself from Sweden, where we have amazing tap water, or at least that's been my experience. A good friend of mine, Alex, from Germany, who also had a good experience with tap water, and then Rocio from Madrid. So where also actually has good tap water for European measures. And all of us were frustrated about the water quality in Barcelona where we were living. And the fact that almost no one would drink the tap water. To the extent that when you ask for a glass of water in a restaurant, they just look at you as if you're completely nuts. And I've had a couple of instances where they say, you know, I wouldn't even give that to my dog. And I said, okay.
It certainly sounds some similarities with Malta.
Yeah. So I mean, our reaction to this was really, this is ridiculous. It can't be this way. There's got to be a better way. So we sat down together and we started talking about it and looking at what could be the solution. How can we get people in Barcelona and other parts of Spain to start drinking tap water again? And our conclusion was that it's not about, you can't force people to do something, but if you can give them a better alternative, then the transition can be obvious. And I think we've seen this with Tesla with their electric cars. If you make cars that are better than the gasoline engines, then people buy them eventually. And that's really been our goal from the beginning of tap water. We sat down, we tested 30 to 40 different products that we could find from China, Japan, from the US, from Europe. And then we worked on what is our vision for the perfect water filter that you can install yourself in the home and that is affordable and sustainable. And ever since, and this was about 5-6 years ago, we've been working towards that vision. And I think today we're getting pretty close to it with a fantastic product.
Great. And how long did it take you to do all that research?
It took us at least 2 years to do the research. And I think that we spent time talking to the top experts in the world in water filtration and drinking water and product development. So we really wanted to make sure that we were doing the right things because neither of us had any background in water or filtration.
Okay.
We have a background in software and technology and e-commerce and in hardware design and in sustainability, and that was kind of the skills that we combined to make this happen. And then we had to bring in the experts in water to support us.
Okay, great. And did you kind of like come out with a set of sort of guiding principles when you first sort of looked at all those different solutions and you saw what you didn't like? And did you have some kind of guiding principles that led you towards the first products that you came out with?
Definitely. So, I mean, if you look at it, the key product, like the main product that existed before we started was Brita, the Brita pitchers. And I think like in Spain, for example, 10 to 15% of all households have purchased the Brita pitcher at some point.
Right.
But actually most of them, they use them for a month and then they put it aside and they go back to buying bottled water. Either because it's inconvenient, the water doesn't taste that much better, or just laziness. So and the other thing is that they didn't replace the cartridges on time, which also meant that the water got worse and worse. So
Right.
our guiding principles based on this was really, it was number one, simplicity. It has to be a product that you can easily install and use yourself. You should not require a plumber. It was taste, like the water really needs to taste as good as the best tap water. And I'm not saying bottled water, because actually when we do testing, it doesn't, like, some people can taste, they can say this is bottled water and this is tap water, but they can also, like, what happens when we do blind testing is 9 out of 10 people with the tap water taste, they say this is great, independently of what their preference is in bottled water. They're like, and that's been our guiding principle ever since. Is like, taste is our number one variable, and then after that comes the health of the water. So to making sure that any common contaminants are removed, and that includes things like pesticides, herbicides, chlorine, obviously, like lime scale, and microplastics and many other things. But actually, it's kind of secondary, because the principle is, what we notice is that if the water tastes great, then people actually perceive it as being clean water as well. So
right.
And then another thing was affordability. So really getting to a price point. And in Spain, we were basically told by customers that price point is around, it's in the 60 to 100 euros per year. It's the sweet spot. We can't charge more, and we really focused on getting to that price point, and that's where we are today. And then I would say the last thing was really getting the digital channels right, in terms of reminders. So making sure that people are aware when they need to change the filters, so that they change them on time, which means that they continue to have access to great tasting water and clean water. And making that easy. And then actually one more thing that I forgot now has been sustainability. So we don't want to replace plastic with another plastic. So another key thing for us has really been, as we're replacing bottled water, to minimize the amount of plastic that is used in the products and minimize the carbon footprint. So we're now at a stage where, like, the tap water filters have use 85 to even 100% less plastic than competing products. The carbon footprint is like 85% lower of the cartridges, and also other variables.
And what I found interesting over the 2 years since I was originally looking for a sustainable water filter, that's how I found tap water and bought it and put it in the house. And then we had a conversation about Malta. And originally it was because I didn't want to be using jugs where you just throw away plastic and stuff like that. But so sustainability is like one of the key things. And what I've seen is that you're constantly making it more sustainable with every sort of product iteration as we've gone on, which I think is amazing, because it started well with a good product and then it's carried on and they've really improved.
But it's really hard. Like, it's super hard with sustainability, and it's hard for so many reasons. It's because you have materials that never have been tested. Like, when we started by using biodegradable plastics, and then we realized that actually the plastic cracks if it's been in storage for too long and been used for a longer period of time. So that wasn't really adequate. The other issue with biodegradable plastics is that they actually pollute the recycling chain, because if you take the biodegradable plastic and put it in a plastic bin, then that actually might mean that when it's mixed up with other real plastics, the plastic can't be used anymore. So
that's our situation in Malta.
There's so much greenwashing in this space, and we've really been trying to be honest about it. We tell you, we're sorry, we can't do anything about this. And the fact that we still need to have some binders in the carbon block that are not completely biodegradable and compostable, and we're working towards a solution for that, but it's hard. But as you said, we're constantly working on improving and making sure that we have the most sustainable products. Another interesting thing has been that we thought when we started that sustainability was going to lead everything in our marketing and branding, and it worked really well for the first year. But the target audience, the people that buy purely because of eco-friendliness and sustainability, is fairly small, actually, unfortunately. Everybody says that they select products based on sustainability, but in reality, they don't. They select them based on convenience, on cost, on design, so many other variables. So we've also had to work on changing the messaging over time, but we continue to focus on sustainability as our core.
Yes, and I think we found that as well in Malta. We started in the sustainable, eco-friendly space, and since COVID, it was convenience. And then now with inflation, it's saving money and convenience, as well as a solid core of eco-friendly or sustainable. Although I think there's, I've had the pleasure of being in a lot of families in Malta that might have it as a secondary thing, but they're very pleased to get rid of those plastic bottles because in their head they know it's crazy. It's kind of like, well, thank goodness we can get rid of them at last because it's crazy. They didn't want to be doing it, and yet they did, as it were, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
Our addiction to plastic bottles, perhaps, for the convenience or purported convenience. So we calculate the impact here in Malta. So we're about 2,000 customers going for 2,500. So we say 500 tons of CO2. Used up or sort of saved every year, 2 million plastic bottles. What about the impact of tap water globally? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, so we're now very close, around the 100 million mark in terms of plastic bottles, which is super exciting. We set a target originally for 1 billion within 5 years, and now our next target is 10 billion instead in the next 5 years. But we have to get there. There's like over 500 billion bottles produced every year worldwide. So our view is that if we really want to have an impact here, we have to go big. We want to make a dent in this market, which means ideally we have to go towards the 500 billion. But obviously we're going to need some help from we're going to need to work together with some other companies on that. So we're not going to solve all of it. But it's great to see. And if you look at the carbon footprint of those, that's like 250 million. I think it's like 250 million. No, it's probably at least 250,000 tons of CO2.
Right.
But it's a lot of CO2.
Currently for the 100 million, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's a lot of CO2. I mean, I think we can change it into kilometers for the cars, but it's just like a huge amount of kilometers, isn't it?
Yeah.
In vehicles.
Yeah.
So that's great. And what do you think about the impact of plastic bottles currently? I know you said how many billions were produced per year globally, and I think our recycling rate globally is like 9% of all the plastic ever produced has ever been recycled. So what do you think about recycling and plastic bottles and how it's purported to be an issue, a solution to it?
It's problematic because when we talk to customers, many of them don't understand how plastic can be an issue when they recycle. And that's the people that do recycle, which obviously is a fairly, like in some of the countries that we're active in, that's a fairly small proportion of the population. So it's a major issue. And like even I'm from Sweden originally, and in Sweden we burn most of the plastics. Like we turn them into energy instead, and we call that recycling, which means that we have 100% recycling officially. Right. But is that really? And so I think it's
the
really
waste to energy thing. Is that really recycling?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think the interesting thing that we've learned as well is that it's a good stepstone to start replacing your bottled water is a good stepping stone for other things. So we're seeing an interest from a lot of customers when we inform them here's our other things that you could easily do to reduce your plastic footprint at home, because we need to focus on the big things. Like this is important as well. You know, your personal footprint is pretty small in the big scheme of things. But if you're doing things that are relatively simple and straightforward, and you're influencing other people to do the same, then you can have a big impact. Right. And I think that's the most important thing. It's not trying to go for zero waste at home. It's just not practical for most people. And the people that do it, they probably spend so much time on doing that if they put the same energy into working on sustainability issues in the wider community, they would have a much, much greater impact than what they do by doing these small things.
And yet there are some things that a family can do to make some changes, like plastic bottles, plastic bags, buying fruit and vegetables that are not wrapped, as it were. I mean, you take out a huge chunk just like that, don't you, I think?
Exactly. Yes. And going to the fruit store and just picking up the fruits without putting them in plastic bags. There are
Right.
definitely like simple things that really do not require much effort, and I think that's great.
So what about the future for tap water? Where do you see it going, apart from bigger numbers for saving plastic bottles or eliminating plastic bottles? I like the word eliminating rather than avoiding, I must admit. Eliminating plastic bottles, apart from bigger numbers with that. Where do you see the future of tap water going?
So one is that we're now in 30 plus countries, so that's a big thing, and in many of those countries we've just started. So I think in Malta we're two years into the journey now, and
Yeah.
you've already accomplished great things with I suspect you're like 2% of households or something like that. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, 1.5% to 2%. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, 1.5% to
And
2%.
that's super great. And this is what we have to do in every country. So if we can achieve that in countries where we're active as well, like India and China, then those numbers rapidly go up. And we go there, and then we go to 5%, and then we go to 10%, and then we keep on going. Which also means that we get enough money to continue to develop better products, to improve the product sustainability, improve various different things. So I think that is definitely a key part of what we're doing, to be able to go from early adopters and then into mass market, and then finally everyone in the long term.
And is there a sort of consistency in the feedback? I mean, obviously each country is different, but is there also a kind of consistency in the feedback you get from customer bases in different countries?
There is like the concerns definitely vary like a lot about what's in the water. In some countries it's all about lime scale and hardness of water. In other countries it's concerns about bacteria. In other countries it's something else. So it varies a lot for sure. But then the messaging is also different country by country, like in terms of what you need to focus on. So yes, there's big differences there.
Interesting. It was nice to see. We started in Malta with the second generation product, which then became a third generation product. So it was interesting that we started at that sort of stage, which was good for us because of lime scale, for instance, because of microplastics, because of heavy metals, because of rust and sediment and all those kind of things. So that's been a good thing. Well, it's really interesting to hear the story, and I'm sure there will be lots of new things happening, as there always is, and the current products will change. So hopefully you'll come back in another couple of years.
The latest really exciting things have been launching a pitcher, like a real alternative to Brita, because not everybody wants to install something on their faucet. So that's definitely something that we can see in certain countries. Launching a bottle, so something that you can have on the go. There it is. Yeah. And also the travel version of that bottle, the fact that you can actually drink the water anywhere you go in the world. It is such a cool concept. I was traveling around Mexico and Ecuador and drank the water everywhere during my travels, and it's just such a difference. You feel so good, and you always have access to water. You don't have to think about, oh, do I need to find somewhere to buy a bottle of water when you're thirsty.
So you never have to worry about it.
Exactly. And that's really where we want to go. You should never have to worry about access to tap water. Obviously, it's also another step. I mean, with the current droughts in Europe, I think we really have to think about water conservation in the future as well. So that's also an area that we're exploring and would probably want to get into once we've solved the drinking water problem, is helping people to reduce their water consumption, which also reduces the energy consumption in the home.
Right. And that's something's also good for Malta, because we do have a water scarcity problem in Malta. It may not be so sort of apparent on a daily basis, but it is something that's being talked about all the time, because we're reliant on our seawater, reverse osmosis, and we're now 60% RO and 40% groundwater. And that amount has been increasing. The percentage RO has been increasing year over year as our groundwater diminishes. And it takes, I think, 40 years, I think I was told here, to replenish your groundwater reserves. So it's a long time in the making.
Yeah.
But that's great. I'm really, really chuffed that you've come to talk to us today. And as tap water customers, I hope you see this and see that we're part of a global mission. So our mission is just 10 million bottles, which is actually 50% of what was recycled last year. So it's still a huge chunk. And the timing is really great because we're just about to start with BCRS, which is the Beverage Container Recycling Scheme, where you have to pay 10 cents deposit on your plastic bottle for drinking water and other things. And hopefully that'll be an encouragement for the convenience and saving money as well. So thank you very much for coming along to talk to us. Have you got any last little snippets you want to give us before we let you get back to your day?
Thank you so much for doing this, for doing your show, which is great. Like sharing sustainability concepts and inspirations from people, super important, and for all the great work that you've done together with TAPP Water in Malta so far. You've been an inspiration for us as well, and everything that you've achieved as a small business on the island. And I hope to come and visit soon as well.
Yes, we should do that. That would be great. And it's really down to our tap heroes, all 2,000, nearly 2,500 of them now. It's down to them that do it. We're just another household, really, doing it, which is, also great. Thank you, Magnus. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set us a little banner and then put some music on just to throw us out. And we'll be back tomorrow with another story at 10 o'clock. And in the meantime, Magnus, I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.